Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Once again, I'm Felipe Caicedo.
And I'm Michael McIntyre, and this is
Sports Talk with Mike and Felipe. All right, so everybody, our segment of the show this time is going to be about our local Seattle Seahawks, and just a summary about what's going on in preseason, the off season, and future predictions for this upcoming season. Playoff run. As we all know, they got there last year and probably this year. Also, a lot of negative talk about how the Seahawks won't be surprising this year. They're not going to be as good as everybody thinks, including someone we all know from First Take show on ESPN, Skip Bayless, who is always seeming to criticize someone and making very weird comments and things that aren't right. But, he makes his money doing his job, so... But let's start with the Seattle Seahawks offense, Michael. How have you seen leading up to this up-and-coming season? And, I know everybody says the preseason isn't, don't pay attention too much to the preseason, which is, a true thing. But, what do you think about this offense?
Well, the offense starts, first of all, with the leadership that it takes. When an offense plays, when a team plays, it always has to rely on the team leaders, the team captains, to get you through them. They give you confidence to play the game right and to play it with style. And that's what Russell Wilson does. Russell Wilson is a model to the NFL. A model that you don't have to be a Peyton Manning, a Tom Brady, that old and that experienced to start being a leader. And he has come in from day one and said to this offense, you know what? It's time for us to take it up a step further. It is time for us to be confident with the way we play and take a look at what this team has done. It has been amazing. You take a look at the depth of this team, starting with the running backs. We have some of the most amazing and energetic running backs with Marshawn Lynch. But the big question, Felipe, is the number 2 spot. Who fills it?
Marshawn Lynch, going back to what you said, great running back. His style of play is different from what you would expect of a running back. It almost seems like he looks for contact because he just runs right through the defense like we saw in the playoffs against the New Orleans Saints where he broke around half a dozen tackles. But I think that number 2 spot's going to be filled up by Robert Turton.
Yeah.
And then the third spot will be Christine Michael. Mm-hmm. So, and these 3 running backs, they really remind me of the 2007 group of running backs for the Super Bowl champion New York Giants, where they had Brandon Jacobs, Derek Ward, and Ahmad Bradshaw.
Yeah.
In this spot, you would have Brandon Jacobs as Marshawn Lynch, Derek Ward as Robert Turbin, and Ahmad as Christine Michael. And why these running backs are so similar is because what the Giants did in that Super Bowl run is they used Brandon Jacobs because he's a big guy. He's not as explosive, but he's a big guy. Just pound the defense, tire them out. They used Derek Ward he's a big guy also, to pound the defense and tire them out, but he's also got that explosiveness.
Yeah.
So he's got both. Then at the end, later they used Ahmad. He's just all explosive, speed. Run right past the defense. Late in games where they're tired. So that's, I think, what the Seahawks are trying to do here is use Marshawn Lynch. Then Turbin with the slight explosiveness, and then with Christian Michael, who's got amazing talent, a young guy, and he's very explosive.
And I have to say, before we move on to the defense, something that has worried me and worried a lot of Seahawks fans the past couple of years has been the penalties. And the penalties against the offensive line have been tremendous. And it is time for Pete Carroll, and especially for the leadership and for the line itself, to learn that, when it comes down to these big games, a penalty, a holding, a false start is not going to help. It's going to, counteract with the drive that they're setting. And I always, cringe when a penalty happens because they happen so much with our team. And I think a big step, a big improvement that needs to be taken forward, because when we watched the Denver game, there were still some penalties and still some of the regular same old people doing the same old things. If we want to be on that next step, if we want to be respected by teams such as the San Francisco 49ers, such as the Atlanta Falcons, these teams need to recognize and realize that we're not going to do that anymore. And we need to play clean, but hard and very good football.
And on the last note I want to say before we move on to the Seattle Seahawks defense is a big point has been made around on ESPN and everything else is that now that Percy Harvin's injured and he's going to be out for at least 4 to 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to fill in that spot? We have Golden Tate, Sidney Rice, Doug Baldwin.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3 guys are very talented.
Yep.
And pretty main targets for Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
But with Harvin out, can we keep up that offensive explosion at the wide receiver position? Mm-hmm. And that question has been answered with the ex-University of Washington Husky, Jermaine Kearse.
Correct.
And that's going to be the big... I think that is the biggest thing in the Seattle Seahawks offense right now. He showed us how... if, locally, you saw him do great things at...
He was very good at UW.
At UW. And now he's bringing that and helping Russell Wilson have... Now that Harvin is out, he's got another target.
Yeah.
And another young guy, also Luke Wilson at the tight end position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, Percy Harvin, would have been so amazing to our wide receiver position and our kickoff return position. But it's like we've added a little bit but taken it out, so we're about even. We have added some other players, and this Jermaine Kearse acquisition has been fantastic. A great move. But now going on to the really big star of our show, the defense. Felipe, show them the paper that you have. The depth chart of our defense is really amazing.
Well, first off, I want to say, so we have arguably the best defense in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Our starting guys are just ridiculously amazing. And then we have a bunch of guys in our second string that are up and coming and are pretty big during games. And even in the third string, we have guys that are good. And I want to show you right here. These are all the names right here I've written down of the defensive players that make a difference and impact on the game. Let's start. We have the Legion of Boom. We have Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, Brandon Browner, and Richard Sherman said it right. They thump and they hit hard.
Yep.
And they're there to make a point that they're the best defense in the league, and they show it day in and day out.
Looking at that list, you have a big group of guys for that, the starter rank, and then you have the secondaries, and you have the people after that. It's almost like the secondaries and the people after that can just morph into one thing. All these players are capable of doing many different things, but what Pete Carroll likes to do is, okay, we have a big third down play on the road or away. On the road or at home. Pete can just sub in a guy, let's say Bruce Irvin.
Anton Winfield.
And, to make a different point, Antoine Winfield, Clint Averill, big acquisitions for the offseason will do great for the team. But and individual players that Pete can put in, they can stop that third down. And, they don't have to, be playing that whole game. They can just, stop that play. It could be a game changer. These are game changer guys that there are so many of them. We can just shuffle them in, 3 and out. It's perfect.
And what I like about this defense is that they all like to hit hard.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping them from plowing through an offensive player. And the thing is, it goes from the first string to the third string. All these guys, they live to hit hard on those offensive players. And, the also great thing about this defense is, let's say one guy gets injured. You place the next guy in, and most teams you're like, is this guy going to live up to expectation? Well, on the Seahawks defense, this guy is going to fill in perfectly because they all play at the same exact level. Whether they're third string, first string, second string, doesn't matter.
And a lot of people, say about our defense is that our defense is the one that score points. That the majority of the points that are scored, in the huge games, the huge wins that we had, that big 50 0 win against Arizona and this Broncos win that we just had is because of the defense. Well, that's true. It's because of the defense, but is that a negative thing?
It doesn't mean that doesn't mean our offense can't score.
Yeah.
It's just that the defense is creating opportunities for the offense,
Mm-hmm.
or creating opportunities for themselves to score.
Yeah, and if Russell had a pretty fast drive and had an explosive play. Okay, now the defense is back on the field. Oh, well, it's only about 2
almost
plays
like a second offense
until a turnover and a second offense, right? A turnover, and then Russell can play again because, and the thing about our defense is the mode of turnovers or the mode of 3 and outs is endless. There are so many different ways they do it, and they will surprise you. It's crazy.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I wanted to say before when we were talking about the Seattle Seahawks offense was, look, our offense was great last year as it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we kicked ass last year with our offense as it is. Getting Percy Harvin is just going to make us even better.
Mm-hmm.
So really losing Harvin isn't that big of a deal because we didn't have him last year to start with, and the wide receivers that we have now without Harvin is basically the same of what we had last year, and now we have the addition of Jermaine Kearse.
Yeah, yeah.
So imagine now the Seahawks offense of last year, in let's say week 6 this year, adding Percy Harvin, and already having Jermaine Kearse. So 2 guys that can, even more explosiveness to this already explosive offense.
Mm-hmm. And well, you got Sidney Rice too, and you have Golden Tate, so you can just switch in the opportunities. And tonight is the eve of the big Green Bay game, and tomorrow we're going to see a lot of jeers at Golden Tate. But I just hope he just collects touchdown after touchdown. And the thing about our about our confidence is that it just shows teams like San Francisco and even AFC teams that hopefully we will play eventually.
Yep.
And hopefully we will play in February, that we are not to be joked about. We are not to be taken aback. We are a legitimate team, and whatever bias that people on the East Coast have and the media has should be ignored, because it's just
should be worried about this team.
Yeah.
Because this team is, they're a top caliber team, and they're going to be, for no doubt, in the playoffs. And I really think they're going to do extremely well this year. The losses will be at a very low. I'm thinking maybe 3 losses the whole year. Looking at this team, and I'm thinking undefeated at home again.
Yeah.
With, the defense energized by that 12th man, and then they played better than they have on the road last year, and let's hope they carry that this year, and even better outcome of what last year. And going back to Atlanta game in the playoffs, that game really was the Seahawks game.
It was.
The whatever happened at the end happened, but how it was playing out that was really the Seahawks game. They should have gone to an NFC championship, but there's a brand new year, and hopefully that's going to be us next year. All right, yeah.
Well, it has been another exciting show of Sports Talking with Mike and Felipe, and now I've just said the name, but from here in Bellevue, I'm Michael McIntyre.
And I'm Felipe Caicedo.
And this has been Sports Talk with Mike and Felipe.